What's up, everybody? We are so excited to be back with you on the Broke Creatives podcast. Today, Jarrett, we have a very, very special guest.
Yeah, he's pretty all right.
Yeah, he's pretty all right. We've been friends for a very... You guys have been friends for a very long time.
Yeah, it's been...
Have we not been friends for a very long time?
Did you hear something?
Are you guys friends?
Did you hear something?
Oh, you are friends. Okay, that's right.
Yeah, I think we are, but you guys have been friends way longer than
I've known him since he was this like little kid.
That's what I'm saying is like, I didn't get to know him
sounds really
until...
creepy, but like when we worked at the church together,
Yeah, he knew me as a little kid.
He would be in the back seat and we'd go be handing out flyers and man.
Oh, man.
It's good times. Anyways, Nick Nord.
Oh, welcome Nick Nord,
welcome.
everyone. What a man.
We're going to have fun. I promise you this podcast is going to be fun.
Yes.
We didn't really do as much notes as we normally do because he's just going to talk a lot. Sean's going to talk a lot.
He is filled with a lot of mind bombs, I will say that.
Mind
and
bombs.
Before...
That's not what my teacher called them. She told me to shut the hell up.
Before we started this, we had to cut you off because you were
we were just talking about what we were going to talk about, and then
and it was
I'm like,
we need
why
to do
are we
this
not recording right now?
ASAP.
So here we go, but we're going to start with
man.
the unpopular opinion first, which Nick actually came up with.
Yeah, he did.
So he gets to start talking about it. There was kind of two different ones, but they're pretty much the same thing. So I'll read both of them, and then Nick, you tell us what you think. So the first part of
Am
it
I
is
introducing myself?
you can introduce yourself after we talk about the unpopular opinion.
Okay.
The first one is the client is not always right, and the second part of that is it's okay to fire a client.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rephrase it. I thought we agreed on...
Who are you?
The client is never right. I mean, they're never right. They're...
Yeah.
They're just never right. But, so...
Nick, where did you come from?
Where did I...
Who are you?
Who am I?
Yeah.
So I'm Nick.
Yeah, you're Nick.
So, I guess more recent history of who I am.
Yeah. You graduated.
I graduated
in
May from the University of Alabama. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
War Eagle. I'm sorry.
I'm about to storm off.
So we can end this podcast right now.
Yeah, I graduated with a 2 degrees, one in entrepreneurship, which is not a real degree, and then my real degree is in information systems. So basically business technology, because I wasn't smart enough to be just a computer science major. So I picked the business version of it. Always been super passionate about businesses and just understanding. I grew up in a family that talked about it lots. So I love it. Like I love thinking about how businesses work, operate, communicate with each other, how kind of change happens within businesses, within companies. I don't like the word businesses, within companies. So,
I can't wait for this podcast.
But so and then now, so I've kind of had some interesting internships through it. Right, I worked at a consulting firm in Tampa for a while. That was a technology skewed consulting firm. They implemented ServiceNow, which I don't know if any of y'all know that, but they're like a massive company, right? So big deal. And you got to see how difficult it is for enterprise companies to how difficult it is for them to change, right? They're just so slow. It takes so much, right? And to be fair, they've got big systems. It takes a lot, but you learn a lot about how much your client doesn't know about themselves. Yeah, it's crazy. And honestly, I keep learning every day. I work for a tech company now too in Dallas, and you just learn so much about how much clients don't know about themselves. Even in enterprise software sales, right? And I know this is more of a kind of a smaller, medium-sized business podcast, but you can things are transferable. Yeah. You get into these situations where you're talking to these clients, and when I say these situations, I mean all of them. So, some of them have like an all right understanding of where their business is, and they're trying to enable themselves in these functional areas, whether that's with data, a better process, right? I'll even use Jarrett's favorite word, better systems, whatever it is. They're trying to enable themselves. Yeah. Then you've got some companies, which are a lot of them, that really just accidentally got successful, and they never really optimized themselves. Yeah. Okay. And you're trying to sell them the software, and salesmen do what they do and oversell, you know. And the good thing about a contractor kind of company or these smaller creative companies is you've got a little bit more control over what you're selling.
Yeah, that's good.
You can control the scope of what you sell because you're doing the entire customer life cycle, right? Like there's a lot of handoff that goes on in the enterprise, right? And then now all of a sudden, you know, the salesman's promised them the moon. Well, shoot, I mean, all I can promise them is like a little island off the coast of like Florida, right? I just can't deliver that, right? And then on top of that, they'll set themselves up for an unrealistic timeline. Well, I can't deliver what you promised, and I can't deliver on that timeline for sure. And then if you oversell, now all of a sudden you've got a constraint on the people that can deliver that. So like you take those things, right? And now we'll talk about transferability. I don't know if that's a word, but we're going with it, right? All of those things you have a better control over, right? An order of magnitude more, right? Because usually the good thing about the creative services is that people see your work product and they're like, wow, that's good. Yeah. That person can achieve whatever my dream is, which is terrible. They're terrible dreamers. People just aren't good. They don't know what good looks like. And that's another one of our points, right? Is like, you can create something really, really good for someone. Yeah. And they see it the same way they see like a really crappy ad, like one of these mattress commercials you see, right? Like
so bad.
Like there was that terrible time to talk about this because it was literally yesterday. But there was a mattress company in like New Jersey or New York that did a mattress commercial where they knocked over like stacks of mattresses on 9/11. How where is your that aired like on TV? I was like, where is your awareness, first of all? And so how many people saw that?
Yeah.
Right? How many hands did it go through? And people were like, no problem. And this was like, I don't know, 10 years after it happened, right? I mean, and this is something brands are going through, big brands are going through every day with like the kind of the rise of the, diversity, equity, and inclusion stuff, right? Is your brand has a opportunity to offend someone in every space, right? So you're a brand manager trying to manage all these different areas of information that you're putting out, whether it's on, right? You got Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, right? And then within each one of those things, you have to manage to not come off as a terrible company. Yeah. Yeah. So like, those companies have kind of found a way to, so on top of that, you've also got to get people to engage with your content. Right? Like it's got to be
good.
Yeah. And it's hilarious to watch companies do brand management these days. Like it's either just so bad and so blatantly like in your face, like, I don't know, like paying some family to have their kid eat Tide Pods or some crap like that, to get them to, that'd actually be funny. I'd probably buy Tide if they did that. But they're terrible ads and they're so disingenuous, right? Like I have no problem with the DEI stuff. Like I think it's good, right? I think it's good for people to see people that don't look like them, on there, and people that look like them, right? Like people need to be able to identify with the product that they're buying, because that's really what they're buying, a story, right? Yeah. They're buying what the product can be for them, the value that it can be for them, not necessarily the functionality of your product.
Well, and that even goes back to like one of the things that Josh talks about a lot is marketing, not just marketing the thing, but you're marketing the thing that markets the thing. So you're marketing the story and like what they're going to get out of it that makes them want to buy the product, not just marketing the product itself. Still need to market the product, but you want to market the reason that they need to get the product.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, I think nobody does it better than Apple does it, right? Like
Apple's a whole nother level.
Yeah. They also, there's a few people that do that really well, right? And it's crazy. I've seen a bunch of like trends or like data come out about how effective marketing is when you have FOMO, right? Like FOMO is obviously a big buzzword. Everyone uses it, which is what a buzzword means. But people get like FOMO is one of the biggest contributors to people engaging with your product.
Yeah.
Right. The idea that their neighbor does it and that they don't do it, that I think there's like a few different stories out there, but they were trying to get people to do, good for the earth, right? Recycle, right? And they tried all these different ad campaigns or ad lines, right? Like pick up your trash, save the planet, right? Put a baby turtle on there, like save this baby turtle with a straw in his mouth. And you're like, oh, nobody cared, right? They had like a 20% engagement rate, maybe even lower than that. Then, one of them said, yeah, shoot, let's make them feel like they're missing out on recycling. And basically said, your neighbor recycles, the rest of the neighborhood's recycling. Why aren't you?
Yeah.
And it was like an 80% increase, right, in that area for 80%, 60% increase from the 20% increase, right?
Yeah, right.
Because that would have been 100%. And we know not everyone's recycling. So, right. But it was like a crazy percent increase. And it was just because people were like, oh, man, I'm missing out on either an experience or I don't want to be left out.
Yeah.
Right. And how do you, I think big brands are doing a pretty good job of figuring out how to kind of curate that and make you feel like you missed out. And sometimes, like I said, disingenuous, like it just feels like it's very like, okay, they're trying it too hard. But so how as a contractor, right, or how as a smaller business, not just a contractor, I kind of want to get away from that, but like even as a small business, right, if I'm Joe Pest Control or I'm, someone who does, rentals for stuff, or for even like a camera rental business. Like we have friends that are in that. Yep. How do you create that for your customer, right? Because they've got they're very intentional. How do you differentiate yourself, right? Because that's ultimately, right. That's another reason of why people buy things, right? Because you're differentiated on price, on experience.
I was gonna say,
or on product.
I think experience though is probably one of the biggest underrated things that drive for people to buy from a company.
Yeah, if you're looking at causal impacts, right, you're looking at experience is probably your number one, especially and it's kind of a debate, right? Like some people say, oh, companies have really dropped off on experience. And then I guess you've got companies that are really good at it, right? Yeah. Oh my gosh, my favorite quote for this. It's from, I think.
You're beating me to it. Normally I'm the one with all the quotes. Yeah, this is good. I'm glad I finally don't have to do it all.
Maybe it's the CTO of IBM, one of them said. And I'm not kidding. This quote is my favorite quote. So don't make any of your comments afterwards, but it's really good. And it's like, your last best experience is your minimum expectation.
No comment. No.
Just take it in one more time. Your last best experience is your minimum expectation. And that is like, I literally think about that every time I go through something.
Yeah.
It's like, you have a good experience on an app, right? Mm-hmm. Now you expect to go to every other app. You're going to judge that app, right? Your perception of that app is going to be based off the last experience you had.
Yeah. Right.
Your last experience at Chipotle, which they're the worst at, right, is being consistent, right? Chick-fil-A has nailed it. Like they have it better than anybody, right? Apple, once again, they do a pretty good job of it, right? You're going to have the same experience or better each time you go, right? Chick-fil-A really does it. I mean, they do it to such a high degree. It's kind of crazy. It almost feels like weird, like you're in like a cult or something. Like you're in like a caboose.
I mean, I remember like Will he got pulled over because he was going I think he was like 79 and a 55 or something like that. Something horrible
in a work zone.
In a construction zone. Yeah. And as he got pulled over, the cop like walked up and asked where he was going. He said Chick-fil-A. He's like, oh, it's God's chicken, and then let him off with a warning. This dude has never gotten a ticket. He only gets warnings. And
you hear that, Officer Taylor? You're getting fired next week.
Yeah. I'm like, but
what was his badge number, Will? 9203. He's still on the road.
Yeah. No, but for real, it's crazy how much Chick-fil-A, everybody knows it. Everybody knows that every time you go to Chick-fil-A, you're going to get a My Pleasure. Like there's all of these different things that like
they're anchoring experiences, right?
Exactly.
That bring you back.
Right. And that's one of the things that we're even trying to figure out too, is with creative industry, all of that, just different businesses, is what anchoring experiences can you create that make you stand apart and like set apart from all the rest of the things.
Yeah. It's about minimizing friction, right? As much friction as you can take out of the customer experience. Yeah. Right. And that's kind of like playing a reactive mode in a way, right? Yeah. You're trying to just take as much friction out. I don't know. Actually, it can be proactive, I guess, right? But having a reactive customer experience is only the first step.
Yeah.
You have to learn how to be proactive, right? And one of the things I love about tech, and kind of one thing that I learned through my MIS degree, was you have your happy path and your unhappy path.
Yeah.
Your happy path is like one or two. You have like one or two happy paths. There are so many unhappy paths, right? Like you have to think about every variation of the customer experience and where it can go wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And then bring the best version of you in every single day, because like, I think that's one thing Chipotle struggles with, man. Because like one day you'll get someone, they're great, and they might short me on steak a little bit, but if they're actually nice at Chipotle, if you manage to get someone that is a friendly employee at Chipotle, right? Like I'm happy with it. I'm good. Yeah. And if they don't freaking break my burrito like they always do, they put too much rice in it. They put too much rice in it. Jeez. Anyways, sorry, getting back to it. Obviously, I have a lot of frustrations with Chipotle.
You're very passionate about it.
Yeah, I go every day, so I've had a lot of bad experiences and a few good. But, I have no idea where I was going. Oh, yeah, that's where I was going with it, yeah. So, like, if you bring, they have a really hard or a really tough issue.
Yeah.
Or they have an issue with people bringing in their best version of themselves every day. I don't know what Chick-fil-A does, right? But somehow they manage to force people, right, to come in with their best attitude.
You think they have a better company culture?
I think that probably plays a part in it. I think that they probably hire better, right? Like they're more intentional about who they hire.
Well, I think they probably set the expectation really well up front too.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't understand how you screw that up as bad as they have, but not Chick-fil-A, the other one. Chipotle's they're gonna sue me for slander. C's. Yeah. But I don't know. I'm obsessed with the customer experience. Like I think it's crazy cool. Like even just from the very beginning to the very end. And then like, what do you do to make sure there's not an end to the customer experience, right? Like, there's always an opportunity to expand the account, always an opportunity to upsell. Right? And where do you find those opportunities, right? Yeah. That's the tough part. Not always. Right? Like some stuff's very black and white. Some stuff's like, oh man, I've sold.
I think if you have a really good offer too, you have to make the offer something that people feel like they can't live without.
Yeah.
And if you do that, I mean, the experience can be a part of the offer.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that we've seen that's worked, that we've done so far, is we've created a great experience. Yeah. And like people come in, like we've gotten down to like the scent in the building when people walk in is something that like will take them back or trigger them. Honestly, I've done one of the scents that I've done in the building before was the Flight of Passage ride in Disney World, the whole Avatar ride. That whole scent though is like,
I just saw of TikTok today that they put like bromine or bromine, I don't know how you say the word, in the water to give it that scent, and now they sell that candle in
I legit
the
have
store.
In my office I have the bottle. But anyways, it's something like if you've been there, you're automatically going to know exactly what it is every single time. If you haven't been there, you're just going to think that it's an amazing smell because it does smell really good.
Kind of like gasoline.
Yeah, you always know if it's gasoline. You just,
love the smell of gasoline.
Smell it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think that's
why I might have lost a few brain cells growing up.
Listen,
the gas pump was here, and I was sitting here. So
you still graduated.
I didn't go to Harvard.
You went to Alabama. But yeah, I think that like that experience is definitely like if you can over deliver on anything. Over deliver on your experience.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This comes back to the point. So let me tell my story.
Go for it.
That was a really good lead in, Jarrett. That was beautiful.
Yeah.
You're like Joe Rogan without the coolness. Just kidding. He's awesome. Joe Rogan, that is, not you. No, but it's so Tony Fadal. I hope I'm saying his name right. He was one of the guys that kind of grew up in like the little bit after like the Steve Jobs thing, right? So the first computers where you went to the college and you logged on and you got as much time as you wanted to and did crazy things, right? And then so he kind of started on the first I think it was a touchscreen, right? I cannot remember the name of the company that he worked for, right? I think he actually started the company. But eventually, right, he went to Apple because Apple just kind of had the infrastructure to deliver.
Right.
And so one of the things that he said they always did at Apple was under promise, right? Not only to Steve Jobs, but they would under promise to the media.
Yeah.
Right. So they would say, hey, And he was the guy that helped create the first iPod and was there for the iPhone.
Yep.
He did like everything. He's awesome. Great book too. He just came out with a book called Build. Go read it. It's great.
Build.
Yeah. It might be like a subtitle, but it's just Build. So anyways, but yeah, back to they would overpromise the media and Steve Jobs or underpromise them on the battery life, right? And so when these users would get the product, right, they were expecting 12 hours of battery life. And then really what they had delivered was 14, 15, 16 hours of battery life.
Yeah.
So as a user, you've got that. You're like, wow, man, this thing's way over delivering. I thought this thing was going to be dead by now. That's a product you're going to buy every time, right? Like, it's
right.
dependable. You're getting a standardized experience, right? Under promising for the over deliver is where people can recognize the value capture, right? Like you've got to let your customer recognize the value. Like you can communicate it as much as you want, but at some point you've got to set this kind of anchoring situation up where they say, wow, man, I'm getting my bang for my buck right now. Like this is a good deal.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I think, God, I'm tired of mentioning Apple they just do like, and I think they're kind of gone away from it a little bit, but they're kind of coming back to it, right? Is that you can spend a hell of a lot of money on an Apple product.
Yeah. Did you watch the Apple event a couple days ago?
Yeah. Yeah. But did you see all the people on Twitter? They're like, I'm going to be sitting in my New York office wearing this damn Apple Watch, right? That's made for,
scuba diving.
Yeah. Marcus Luttrell and the Navy SEALs, right? I mean, it's like even before you got the product, people are already seeing. They're like, yeah, but I just bought the AirPod Maxes, right? They're ridiculous. They're $500 something, right?
Yeah.
I put them on,
and
I was like, this is not worth $500, but it's great.
Just because it says Apple on it.
Yeah, no, but it was. I was like, this is so worth the purchase. This was great. Like, I love it. And they do a good job of having a closed ecosystem. Like, so things work so well with each other, right? They transfer well. Like, that's talking about like experience. Yeah, they just nail it, man. They're so good at it. Like and honestly, they blow my mind. I wish I could go work for them. Like, they're one of the people that they pick the right products. They've kind of like gone away from being innovative, which is kind of sad. It's actually really sad, but as far as experience, like they're doing a good job of keeping you roped in, right? I mean, the problem is it's like Moore's law which Moore's law is that like basically processing power will double every year, 10x each year, right? And so actually we've kind of gotten to the diminishing returns, right? Like we're at the maximum of what computer processing until we get into like the quantum part of it, right? What it can do. Yeah. So now it's like they've got it so fast, right? Now they're trying to like nuance things, and people are like, oh, well, this isn't as big of a leap as I was experiencing with the past products. Yeah. So kind of
right.
By the way, his book is Build: An Unorthodox Guide to Making Things Worth Making.
Yeah. What's great about it's not like sequential, right? Like you can read it that way. Like you can go chapter 1, chapter 2, but it's also like his charge in the beginning is this is a book you can take from anywhere, right? You can do it like where you want to. You can start wherever you want to, right? It's really well done. He actually was the creator of the Nest products too. So the thermostat.
I was just saying that Nest Labs. He co-founded it.
Yeah, it's oh my God, it's so great. He talks about and that's another like customer experience book. So good, right? Because they thought so much about another thing Apple's good at, another thing Nest is good at is the packaging, right? Yep. How do you feel when you...
I'm telling you, the packaging when we opened up the Mac Studio when we bought it, I was blown away. I think there's a box somewhere around here, but the packaging is unreal. I was like, I mean, we were like, oh yeah, let's like make it look super cool and maybe film something. I think there's footage somewhere, but the box for the Mac Studios are phenomenal. And
it's almost like you unbox
like that's part of the experience.
You
don't even use the product. It's part of the experience.
It is the core to the experience, right? Like my favorite part about in that book, right? He talks about the packaging and how important it was and how important the message was, right? And some of the different things they said with the messaging on the box. But one of the best things that they did, right, and the whole company fought him on it for so long was the little Nest screwdriver. Did y'all have one of those? Do you ever see one of those?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The little like kind of looks like a balloon.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
They said that was their number one marketing tool because people would keep it, right?
And they'd have it with them
they would have it
all
in
the
their
time.
drawer because,
Yep.
and the other thing, so they found, right, like this is a great user experience, right? User research, right?
Yeah.
And I think this is something that smaller companies never do. That's so important that big companies do. They iterate their product, right? How are we?
That's so good.
How are we making products better? But one of the things that they did was they had different household people, right, put on a thermostat, and it was like taking 30 or 45 minutes. And what they figured out was it wasn't so much the product and the complication of the product. They spent most of their time looking for the tools, right? Like people didn't have, they're like, is it a flathead? Is it a Phillips, right? Do I need this? So they're like, what if we just put the tool to install this inside? And that's really the reason they put it in there. And then they figured out it's like this amazing marketing tool. Mm-hmm. And they're like, and Tony's like, I'm not taking that out.
Yeah.
And when companies get bigger, they start looking at their income statement or their balance sheet and income statement and cash flow, right? And the guy's like, hey, so technically that was on a cost of goods sold or a product expense, maybe R&D expense, right?
Yeah.
So it was hurting the it was kind of hurting the statements more than it would if it was a marketing expense. And he's like, guys, first of all, I'm not taking it out because it's a core experience to the product,
Right.
and second of all, this should be a marketing expense, really. I mean, because that's what it ended up being, right?
I mean, customer experience, I would say, is marketing as well. I mean,
sometimes
I was
it works
looking up
into the product cost. So you have to like differentiate. You have to pull that out and extract that and be like, hey, this really should be here, but for reporting purposes, we need to put it there.
Right.
So.
I was looking at some statistics, and it said 65% of all consumers find a positive experience with a brand to be more influential than good advertising.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I think. I don't know. I'm trying to think about some.
74% of consumers are at least somewhat likely to buy based on just experience alone. Which I mean, look at Apple. You could never see an Apple ad and still want to go buy an Apple product.
My new bet. We're gonna try not to mention Apple one more time this podcast.
3, 2, 1, go.
I think it's at like 132 times I said Apple, and I know it's my fat self is not eating any apples, so it's obviously about the company. I know we have not been talking about nutrition, that's for sure.
Okay, but look at for example, this is the only reason I think this is a funny example is because I know somebody that's sitting in this room right now that would buy something just because
you know a few people in this room right now.
Yeah, no, but the person that would go buy something just because somebody released it, and it was okay. So if Kanye West released something,
will
100% go buy it. And so there's a backpack that he's releasing that it looks dope. Like the marketing that they do for this thing is amazing. Yeah. It looks like a trash bag though. And I texted Will. I was like, I already know you're gonna get this. He's like 1,000%. Yeah. But I mean, think about that. Is like, I mean, the marketing that they do there, but also the customer experience, all that is crazy because you feel a certain way when you have that kind of product. And it's like the way that a product can make you feel is part of the experience itself.
It's not, it is the experience, right? I mean, that's what, like, whether it gives you that sense of identity, right? Whether it's just a smooth experience or whether it's just, that is how you remember the product and that's how you talk about it. Once again, and that's now going to be your minimum expectation, right? For every other experience you have.
Yeah.
So other brands need to keep in mind, right? If I'm not like constantly disrupting myself and constantly trying to make my experience and focus on where the user hurts, right, and taking that out, then I'm falling behind everyone else. Yeah. Right? I think it's kind of crazy too how it's moved to like, now it's like these companies, right, really rely on Instagram, Facebook, whatever, because that's where you're doing most of your buying, right? Or that's where I'll tell you, it's crazy how good it's gotten. Like,
it's gotten so easy to go buy something online.
Yeah, like
so easy.
I remember saying, I was like, I'd never buy anything off Instagram, right? And like, I think my last like 10 purchases have been through like Instagram ads. I was like, oh shoot, that's perfect for. That's exactly what I was looking for.
We've automated everything to where we can do it ourselves, and we don't have to deal with people anymore, which could potentially make the experience better because people suck sometimes, most of the time. And so, I mean, there's even this other statistic. It says more than 60% of consumers look for self-service first instead of contacting a live person. That's from Microsoft.
I got two things to say about this. Number one, you gotta remind me about fast food workers.
Okay, go for
I
it.
ask you
From Chipotle.
No. God, I wish. What I'm gonna say, that would be great. But oh shoot, what was my first point?
I don't know. I was talking about self-service versus live people, and how more than 60% of consumers look for self-service people.
I got so caught up in my second point, and then he distracted me.
Just say your second point then.
Yeah, so my second point, this is more of a, oh no, I remember my first point now. Sorry, guys. No,
Point
so
number one.
buzzword alert. If you had like a little alarm thing to go off, perfect for this. But yeah, that works, I guess. Honestly, they deserve to be bleeped out. But man, people say AI, machine learning, right?
Yeah.
All that fun stuff. And it's actually crazy because it's being used everywhere. We just don't see it.
Right?
Right?
I use it all the time. To write stuff because I hate writing.
Yeah.
Hate writing.
I was like, do you just have like an AI?
I was like, where
know
are you
what
going with that? But I know
where-
exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's
and it is legit game changer.
There's
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, it's gonna take so many jobs away. That's my second point.
Yeah.
So
That's
but
a whole
back to the AI thing.
Sorry.
Netflix is using it, and I didn't realize it. I this is definitely, I did not figure this out. This is something I saw on TikTok or something. I'm not that smart. But they, depending on what you watch and your preferences, they change the title picture of the movie.
No way.
To be more aligned with what your preferences, right? So if you're watching a rom-com action movie, right, and you're and you are really into, I was gonna say women, but a lot of dudes are in rom-coms too, right? Whatever. Maybe you're watching rom-coms with your girl. I don't know. But if you're watching a bunch of rom-coms, right?
Yeah.
They end up showing like a picture of the woman and whatever the scene it is where they're like falling in love with each other, on the front thing, instead of the standard movie poster, which would be, guns, bombs going off and all that crazy stuff, right? And that is crazy, like a conversion tactic. I was like,
that is
so
nuts.
cool and kind of keeps you around.
Yeah.
Netflix's core problem is their content sucks. So, and no one's coming out with anything good anymore. So there's always that.
I think,
so good.
Yeah. Anyways, I'll go onto your McDonald's
Second
employees.
point. Okay, this is kind of crazy, and I don't want to get too far into it because this can definitely take me down a rabbit hole.
I'm all about rabbit holes. We got time. People
Yeah.
listen.
Yeah, I gotta keep myself on track here. So so I'll start it with this. There's this video that came out. I noticed how all my stories about other people's videos, nothing that I actually did, but so there's this robot using all the AI buzzword stuff to pick produce and stuff off the vine, right? So instead of needing workers to pick it off, it's picking the best fruits, right, and kind of or vegetables, whatever it is, and organizing them by that, right? So now you can capture metrics, right? They're using computer vision, which is really cool, and and not only that, right? So now that's just a piece of equipment, right? So it's a capex or opex expenditure.
Yep.
So now you get to write off the depreciation on it. You don't get to write off the depreciation on a person.
No.
You don't. So honestly, and their cost, right? So whatever they're paying you, right? Their cost is probably double what they pay you, or maybe 0.25 what they pay you, right? So I mean, if you make $80,000, their cost for you is probably about $125,000 or something like that. So that's by 0.35, I think, or something like that, or 35%, right? So you don't have to worry about that when you automate things.
Right.
So now, fast forward to the wonderful People's Republic of California.
Yeah, buddy.
So they have
It's California. Anyways, keep going.
So they have the government has decided to step in and kind of take the role from unions away, and they're doing basically these the agreements with different industries. So they set the minimum wage, the working conditions, and all that. The government sets it by industry, and so there's a few more levels to that, right? So they're doing it for. It only applies to companies that's 125 or more businesses, but it also applies to you if you are a local McDonald's chain, right? And you have 2 franchises. Yeah, those laws apply to you, right? Yeah. So it's a $22 minimum wage, whatever it is. So what am I going to do if I'm this company, right? I'm going to replace you with automation, and the automation exists. Very simple, right? You have 2 people that work I'm not saying anyone already hasn't before, right? It's going to be replaced with automation. But then this is the crazy part, and I heard this from the All In podcast. It was great. Now it changes the game for McDonald's, because McDonald's, right? They're a landowner. They get the $1 million franchise, right? You have to buy the product from them, and the margin there isn't crazy, but right then they have whatever perpetuity that they have to pay out to them.
Yep.
The crazy part now is McDonald's. You come up with the technology, right, to do all the different activities that you need to do, and you're now a rental business too, because you're selling the franchise, and now your franchisee is renting that equipment from you. Yeah. So there's another revenue stream. So they don't care.
Yeah.
Right? They're excited for it to happen. They're like, yeah, replace it.
Yeah.
Now, what else are you doing? You're standardizing the customer experience. You know that you're not going to have a milkshake thrown in your face, or one of those.
Someone's going to spit in your food.
Yeah, one of those.
Someone's going to drop a Sharpie in the.
So
that happened before. I worked at McDonald's.
So back to the connection, right? Self-service. People actually, and the great part for them too is people don't like people anymore.
They really, people suck. Like I said
earlier. They do. They're
people
terrible. People are terrible. I'm not a people person, and I love talking to people. So, I don't know how that works out, but I really don't like people. We can't get you away from people.
We can't get him to stop talking to people.
Yeah.
Literally, we will sit there and wait for 30 minutes while he's talking to somebody about something useless.
It's taking me a lot to just sit here and listen. Yeah. It's a lot.
You never talk. Anyways, keep going. Sorry.
So it's awesome though, right? Because they're just falling into this perfect time to just expand that revenue, baby. Like it's like people don't want to talk to people. They don't want to interact with them. So I'm going to give you a kiosk, right? You're going to walk up. You're going to order what you want. And you're going to get it perfect on time. They're going to be able to do it faster. They're going to be able to do it better. And why wouldn't you want that experience? Like that's the best experience you could ask for. And now what they've done is just put more money into the pockets of the corporations that they're trying to legislate against. They're not smart.
They're not.
Like every time you think that you're going to pull one over on them, right? Like it's not going to work. That was my second point. Sorry.
That was your second.
Let me tell you, that one can keep going, but I'm just gonna.
You're gonna reel it in. We could do a part 2.
Yeah, that's gonna be my podcast. It's gonna be just talking about.
We need to get you on it.
We need to get you.
We're gonna get him going on the podcast. Anyways, is there anything else you wanted to say about under promising and over delivering?
Over promising. I don't think so, but I'm bound to have something pop up into my brain. So
yeah, I think that as far as customer experience, it's like, let's reel all of this back into the creative industry really quick. Is that I think that even in the creative industry,
is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, did you know?
Oh shoot, my bad. Sorry.
Anyways, so with the creative industry, I think that so often happening is that creatives don't know how to have a good experience. Yeah. Especially the freelancers and all that. They don't think about it. They don't think it's necessarily important, because all they're doing is going in, doing a job, and leaving. Yeah. Or even like you have podcast producers. They go in, they record,
past
they
the
leave.
Creative thing, right? Like think of like I said, Joe Schmo, right? Like who's got his bug business.
Yeah.
Right, you've got a really good opportunity there to. Bugs aren't going anywhere, especially with global warming. The mosquitoes are just freaking repopulating. Like, can't say that. So, they're repopulating like crazy. I was gonna say Mormons. They're repopulating like crazy. Well, it made it sound like I was going to say something way worse than that. Cut that out, Will. No, but
bugs aren't going anywhere.
Bugs aren't going anywhere. Yeah, sorry. Thank you for getting me back on track. Yeah. Right, and so I think with creatives and independence, it's difficult because you're constrained, right? Like you're constrained with time and like knowledge, right? Because it's helpful to have someone that can kind of manage the experience, and then have someone that can manage the product. Yeah. Right, and what the core of what brings.
Well, what's really interesting too is like, even because we've all been at some point. I don't know if you even told this part.
I didn't.
But like where I met Nick was actually at church, doing the production. He was a camera operator. He would run around like a crazy kid and just do camera or whatever. Anyways,
or suspend myself from the ceiling.
Oh, okay. Yeah. One time we had this Christmas production, and he was in this like
chair.
spotlight chair underneath.
5 minutes till open doors
God.
open, and I had to go to use the restroom.
Yeah,
and
he
I
did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounded.
There was
it sounded
a
like
cup involved, I think.
No. That's the time I got out of the chair. It sounded like King Kong was running through the rafters. Yeah. People are like, "Is that part of the show?" No, they got new subwoofers.
Yeah, no, it was something else. But no, anyways, that's where I met Nick, was through all of the production. So we've all come from the production side of stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that it's really interesting to see is a lot of people that were in production are leaving and going and doing like other jobs now. They're either starting businesses, going in. A lot of people are working for integrators now, which I think which is interesting because you have a lot of these people that dealt with the customer side of an integrator, and now they're going and working for integrators because they're experienced.
Can you just define integrator for?
So an integrator would be like somebody that goes in and installs audio visual lighting equipment, or does set designs, sells equipment, stuff like that. And
I was thinking more like people, on the creative side. So I was like, integrator. What do you mean? So that makes sense.
Yeah. So it's funny. There's an example. There's this one guy that I know that actually went to go work for an integrator he couldn't stand when he was on the customer side because of how horrible their experience was. Makes no sense to me, but he's on their customer experience team. And I'm like, I mean, that's one way to do it, I guess. But there's been a lot of people that have left working at churches and are working more in the, I don't want to say the real world, but it's like the other
Real
side
world.
of it. I mean, I guess it is.
Just kind of thinking through, it's kind of weird. So you think of COVID.
Yeah.
You kind of experienced this, right? When you were an independent contractor, right? You get in this situation, obviously, where the world just slowed down, right? They didn't need people to do a lot of stuff that they needed. Actually, the funny part is it slowed down for such a weird industry because content ended up being this like powerhouse
everybody
machine.
thought that they could be a graphic designer, a podcast creator, and a video streamer
as we
all
sit
at
on
the
this
same
podcast,
time.
They're all
I would
creatives.
Video streaming it.
Yeah, no, we're just recording it and posting it on YouTube.
Same shit.
I mean, this is 2 years after COVID.
Yeah, but so like, right? You think about this, right?
Unnecessary. Anyways,
a lot of uncertainty that exists when you're a freelancer.
Yeah,
and you can change that for yourself. By the way, definitely a huge opportunity for people to do sales as a service, right? Like, because creative people definitely suck at selling for themselves.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
And they need someone to oversell for them, because
Well, and that's why I think that it's not like being a freelancer. A lot of people learn how to try to sell themselves, but then that doesn't mean that you can
suck.
Well, yeah, but then a lot of them try to take their suckiness of selling themselves and going into being a business owner, and then wonder why they're living paycheck to paycheck and not being able to do anything. It's because they haven't grasped onto the selling part. And I think that because like everything that you're doing should be generating revenue for your company, literally everything. And if you're not doing something that's generating revenue or taking steps towards it or developing a system or something like that, then your business isn't going to be successful. It's not going to be a win. I think that's one thing that creatives have had a hard time understanding and grasping, is because when you're a freelancer, you don't have to worry about doing all of that as much, because really, like, I can be like, okay, cool, this dude's reaching out to me, he has a job, I can go do it. Cool, gone. Okay, go do the job, you get your paycheck, move on to your next thing. And that's the same thing that I kind of talked about on the last podcast, is that when you're a freelancer, you're working for a system, but when you're an entrepreneur, you're optimizing systems, which your favorite word, optimizing systems though to work for you. Which I think that's the hard part. Like, it's easier said than done to learn how to optimize.
For sure.
I think though you can get stuck, right? Optimizing, right? At some point, it's got to be about moving, right? And
well, I definitely think over systemizing
right?
is a thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Over systemizing is a thing.
I don't think the creative people have a problem with over systemizing. I think
it's because most creative people don't like systemizing.
Yeah, so that's why they're creative people. Yeah, that's why they usually show up late or don't deliver on deadline or whatever you creative people do.
ClickUp
don't project man, like not you hit the nail on the head on that one.
And it's like, I don't know. So you're starting to like, my brain's going like 10 different ways. So I'm trying to think about how, like where I should go with this, and then just like that, everything goes away. But but like I was going back to the COVID thing, right, and having some sense of kind of steadiness, right, or I guess you just know that things are going to work out, right? And so you kind of saw some people. I have a friend that works for the company I work at,
Yeah.
And he was a freelancer, and he ended up joining a corporate company, right? Or joined our company. And he's like, dude, it's actually kind of awesome, right? Because like brands have really opened their creative freedom, right? Like it's not just this very standard, we're going to use a what's that terrible font called? Cosmic Sans, right? We're not going to use Times New Roman, right? You've got freedom to kind of be a minimalist, or
go to Gotham, or or Avenir.
Yeah. And like, actually the brand is just so important to who the company is, and so they're finally letting creative people take charge of the brand. Yeah. Right. And so
I think one thing too, they're also letting people go. They're not isolating the creative people inside their own company. They're letting people from outside look in and help design their creatives stuff, which has been really interesting.
I think though it'll be interesting to see how if more creatives, like the ones that are actually good, not these people that just picked it up as a hobby recently, right? If they start to move into a more corporate structured setting, right? Because you got to think about corporate setting has changed a lot, right? You can work from home, you can come in when you want, you can leave when you want. I did that today. I left at 2 or 3, right? I mean,
there's some companies that are only working from home.
Yeah, exactly. And so as a creative, right, you're still getting the freedom that you want. You're getting, you're getting
if
your salary.
not more freedom.
Yeah, you're getting your salary. Like all of a sudden, freelancing kind of sounds like, and the thing that's really tough to do when you're a freelancer is save money. Yeah. Right? You're literally trying to go from experience to experience, right? Because a lot of people undersell themselves, right? Yep. And which is a whole nother topic that we could talk about, and not one I know much about because I oversell myself in all situations. Literally all situations, especially in the bar.
Stupid.
No, but like,
those are your college days.
Yeah. So it's like it'll be interesting to see kind of the shift. Like, do people start shifting to a more corporate setting because it allows them to kind of have the less traditional life, but a more traditional income. So and then you've got everyone under the moon trying to be a real estate agent. Everyone. I'm so sorry if you're a real estate agent, but oh my gosh.
Especially if you became one in the last 1.5 years.
And if you're a commercial real estate agent, oh my God, I feel so sorry for you. No one wants to buy any buildings, and people just keep building.
Nobody really wants to buy houses anymore right now either.
Yeah, well, it's probably one of the most saturated markets, right?
Especially here, like Dallas is ridiculous.
I don't care if you bought a Tesla and you're like 8, you look like you're 15 years old, right? Like. I'm just kidding. He's a good real estate agent. But like, real estate is it's so oversaturated, man. I don't understand why people are like just jumping into it to just, you know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know.
That's so true. I mean, that goes back to.
I'll shut up for a second. I'll let y'all talk for a second.
Hello, Sean. Here is Sean.
What's your name? What's your name?
Yeah. No, but I do think that goes back to being a creative as well, is that a lot of people have been so stuck in a box for so long that
as a freelancer,
as a not just a freelancer, but some people are like stuck behind a desk, especially.
I think you're right.
I just want to say in churches. So being in churches, being a creative in a church, it's always consistent. Nothing is changing. And there's always like, it's consistent. And so those people I feel like are trying to go to the freelance route.
Yeah.
And I mean, being a freelancer, you're going to find out really fast exactly what we've been talking about.
Well, the other thing, if you're a creative, which is awesome when you go into this corporate setting, right, is you've got access to a much bigger budget than you ever would have had. I was talking to my friend. He's like, dude, we've got these red cameras that are like, they're red cameras that they use like almost like IMAX type, like the
Geminis.
He's like, it's like $100,000 camera in my hands.
Yeah.
Maybe more, right? I just made up a number because I don't know much.
No, right.
But there was this $10,000 camera. It's not even. It's a stills, just like a regular camera, right?
Yep.
He's like, we just have it. We don't need it, but we have it. I'm like, he's like, we could shoot a movie with all the stuff that we have, and I get to film like awesome content and do cool stuff. I'm like,
yep.
When you're a freelancer, you got your little Rebel T3i, and your Premiere and Adobe and all that that's the same thing. But, your Final Cut Pro, it can only do so much enhancement, right? You can only crank that ISO so much, right? And then you get it from the LED screens and they start flickering, It's
like
no
you've
good.
done video before.
A little bit. But it's like so that's like kind of interesting. I don't know. I'll be interested to see how that trend evolves.
Yeah. But what about those people that I know we've been talking about it that call themselves a creative, but then
that's a whole nother podcast.
No, I know it is.
That's a whole nother podcast.
But we're talking.
What are we at? What's our time at?
We're landing the plane right now.
Yeah.
What's our time at?
Almost an hour.
They can stop listening after. We'll keep talking.
Yeah.
Well,
no,
we could just start part 2.
Yeah. Heck yeah. Let's do.
We'll land the plane.
Yeah.
We'll start.
Land the plane.
Yeah.
Well, we covered experience.
But we covered experience. We covered that the client's not always right. We covered over or under promise and over deliver.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a bunch of different things. I think this is all good stuff. It's definitely like worth having a part 2.
Yeah. We might have touched on experience a little bit longer, but But the thing is, it's so core.
Yeah.
To what your customer goes through, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, honestly, I don't even know if the next 50 minutes or next hour is going to be about customer experience or if the customer's not.
Probably not. We're just going to record part 2 right after this.
Yeah. So anyways.
All that to say, I think that with episode 6, kind of what we've been talking about.
Part 1, episode 6, part 1. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's the way
or
that it
episode
works.
7, whatever. Yeah.
Anyways, but over promising or under promising and over delivering is part of your customer experience.
Yeah.
But I think that too, which we'll probably touch on this in part 2 some more, but the customer isn't always right, but they also that quote that you said about the experience is
your last best experience is your minimum expectation.
Exactly. But so if they've ever done something like recording a video, doing a project, something like that, if they've had that, they don't know what to expect except for what they've experienced previously.
Yeah.
And
which is usually not good because people in the creative industry suck at experience.
Well, exactly. And I think that, so
you've got a big opportunity there.
We're just going to keep this podcast going. So anyways, we're going to do part 2. Part 2 is going to be next week.
To use the restroom.
Let's do part 2.
Yeah. So we're going to do part 2, but like and subscribe, follow all of the channels. We have YouTube channel, Facebook, Instagram. We are doing merch. It's coming soon. We're working on it. There's going to be, Sean really wants a beanie. There's going to be hats. I want a bomber jacket because it's winter is coming. Anyways.
Let's go ahead and add a bomber jacket to the order.
I want a bomber jacket. Anyways, you're wearing a bomber jacket. I'm going to go get my bomber jacket for the next part. But anyways.
Yeah, let's wrap this up.
Yeah. I think he's ready to go. Anyways.
But yeah. No, you said it all. You
covered
it all.
Though. Actually, it was a good little conversation. So.
Yeah. Round 2.
Round 2.
You get to see it next week. Peace.
Bye-bye.